So in a not-for-profit context, you look at the arrangement, the grant contract, the work that they're doing, and you first start with AASB 15 and say, does this income source meet the requirements in AASB 15? If it does not, then you come to AASB 1058 and then have a look and see, can AASB 1058 apply to this particular income source? So what does 1058 say? It mainly covers two specific areas. The first being what is described as transactions where the cost of acquiring an asset is significantly less than fair value of that asset, principally to enable a not-for-profit entity to further its objectives. A little bit of a word salad there. So let's just break that down and see what are we talking about? We're talking about instances where a not-for-profit receives something, but what they give in return is of significantly less value. So think about a donation that's received. A not-for-profit will receive a donation, but that's income. There's not something they give back in return. Or the not-for-profit might receive a capital grant that says, here's a chunk of money in order for you to go and build a property to then provide your services. But that property that they go and build is retained and used by the not-for-profit. It's not given back to a third party. So they've tried to create that wording to describe those situations where a not-for-profit receives something of value, but doesn't give back something of equal value. And in addition, the reason for that transaction was to help the not-for-profit further its objectives. That wording's there to say, if the not-for-profit or if the organisation received something at a cheap price because it was a fire sale or just because they were really good at bargaining and got a great discount, that's not what we're talking about. That's just commercial business practice that you try and buy things cheaper if you can. But here we're talking about those situations where the donor or the person giving that thing of value is doing it because they want to further the objectives of that not-for-profit. So hopefully that now makes a bit more sense of the words that we've got on the screen there. The wording there is taken directly out of the accounting standard. The second component we're talking about is then the receipt of volunteer services. So that's where you might have someone that comes and donates their time, which would be a very common activity. I'll drill into that a little bit more in a few slides, but the point to note with volunteer services, in almost all cases, it's going to be optional.